please.
I forgot I was supposed to speak. While we're singing, you can stand, you can sit down. We're not going to tell you what you're going to do, but whatever the music is really need you to do, you hold your hands up, you can sing with us. Huh? Yeah, please.
Wait upon the Lord with the wait upon
seat if you'd like.
This is the Christmas song. You don't probably may not have heard it.
candle of love.
Matthew chapter 22, verses 36 through 40. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And he said to them, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it does not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres.
As a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another.
Thank you so much. The boys had a dilemma. They heard the whistle and knew it was time to go. Mom and Dad said no. It is the season of Advent, as I introduced last week. It is the second Sunday of Advent. The 4 candles in the wreath represent hope, either peace or love, joy, and then the other one. And different denominations preach it in different orders. I'm going to preach it as hope, love, joy, and peace. So we're going to talk about love today. And one of the most basic things that Jesus says over and over and over again is love one another. I'm telling you, that's hard sometimes. And so the sermon asks the question, as most of my sermon titles do, why is it so hard to love one another? I mean, you would agree with me, would you not, that loving one another is not an easy thing to do. Some people, it's real easy, you know? Maria Mossberg comes to mind. Love that girl. Easy girl to love. I won't name some others that aren't so easy to love. But we would agree that loving each other is a difficult thing to do. And yet that is one of the fundamental things that Jesus says. Love one another. Now, if you'll pardon the way I'm going to say this, I've been in the love business for about 18 years now, give or take. All right? And by that I mean counseling people before they get married, counseling people while they're having trouble, and counseling people while they are about to split up. And one thing I have decided, after all of those counseling sessions with all of those couples, most people do not understand the concept of love. Now, we as a culture, we talk about it all the time. As I told the early service this morning, if there's one thing we do, we love to talk about love, right? Who doesn't love their smartphone? Man, I love that thing. I don't carry a watch anymore. I don't have a compass anymore. I don't carry GPS anymore. I got it all right here. You know, I love my smartphone. And that's clearly one kind of affection. I think I told you before that I had a previous life and I was an entrepreneur and a few other things. And one of the stars in my crown as an entrepreneur was a BMW Z3 convertible, British green carbon leather. Didn't like that at all, did I? Huh? Oh, man, I love that car. Love that car. Oh, hardest thing I had to do was sell that car. We love our dogs. We love our guitars. We love that meal we had last night. Man, I love that. Right? What do we mean when we say that? What does that actually mean? And what does it mean when you look your beloved in the eye and you say, I love you? What does that actually mean? We're going to talk about that this morning. We're going to try to find an answer to that this morning. And the first place we need to go whenever we need answers is Google. Come on, people. Not the Bible. What does the Bible know? We need Google answers. All right? So if you were to go to Google and you would type in the word love, you have no trouble finding things to read. In fact, if you read every minute of every hour of every day for the rest of your life, you wouldn't come close to reading everything that's on the internet, because there are 54.8 billion places that you can go and read about love on the internet. All right? So now you know what you're going to do this afternoon, right? Ashley's going to assign Terry to figure out what it means. Well, if we narrowed it down to quotes on love, let me get my figure right. Let's just look at quotes on love. That would narrow it down to 167 million. Easy peasy, right? We can knock out 167 million references by nightfall. If we go down to just videos on how to have a better relationship and love each other better, we can knock that down to 14.7 million. That is 14.7 million whose relationship is so good, they got to make a video to teach you all how to love each other better. How about that? Yeah, who among you, I'm not brave enough to do that. You know? Oh. We love to love to love. I don't usually wear a tie for this service, but I wore my happy tie today. I've owned this tie for 25 years, and it never makes anybody frown. I mean, I can walk down a hospital hallway, and every single person I pass will go. It just makes people smile. It's good old Charlie Brown trying to fly a kite. Well, if you lived back in the 70s, which none of you did, except the back 2 rows, or back row. If you lived in the 70s, there was a very famous book published by Peanuts called Love Is, and then there were cartoons that would tell you the answer. And I think everybody's favorite answer was, love is a warm puppy. I mean, is that not? Oh, yeah. Well, I found a email, one of those that circulates a lot, and this has been several months ago now, but it's love is a grandparent who. Love is a grandparent who. All right, so I'm going to share a few of those with you. Love is a grandparent who can always be counted on to buy whatever fundraising item you're trying to sell. Your cookies, flower seeds, greeting cards, magazines, subscriptions, and peanut brittle, even if they don't have good teeth. Love is a grandparent who helps you with the dishes when it's your night to do them. Love is a grandparent who arrives 3 hours before your baptism, graduation, or wedding just so they can get a seat where they can see you. Love is a grandparent who will love you as a bald baby and a bald father and all stages of hair in between. Love is a grandparent who will put a sweater on you when she is cold, feed you when she is hungry, and put you to bed when she is tired. Love is a grandparent who will help you fasten your buttons, zip your zipper, or tie your shoelaces, and is in no hurry whatsoever for you to learn how to do it yourself. Now, most of you aren't grandparents yet, but trust me, when you get there, we were lucky enough to have a breakfast on Saturday morning with 2 of ours. And I mean, it just lights up your world when they walk into the restaurant. It's wonderful. Don't want them ever to grow up, just want them to stay just like they are. Most people have no clue what the word love means. That's why there's so much information out there. Now, Jesus had something to say about the concept of love, and that's what we're going to look at today. He said that's the basis of everything. That concept, that word love, is the basis of everything about following Jesus Christ. And probably most of you are aware of this, but in the New Testament there are 3 different Greek words that are translated into the English word love. There's the Greek word phileo, which stands for brotherly love. There is eros, which is erotic or physical love. And there is agape, which is selfless love. Now, the best example I've ever come upon about selfless love is a mother who just gave birth to a child. All right? What can that baby do for you, mothers? When that baby's laying in your arms and it just wets and screams and that's all it can do. It wants you to take care of all of its needs. What is in it for you to take care of that thing? What's the feedback? What's the benefit? There isn't any benefit. Not for several weeks. You're up half the night, and it's just extremely inconvenient. You learned that, Carrie. You were a practice baby, didn't you? What's in it? Why do mothers have children go through that trouble and that effort and go through all of that stuff that they go through? It's agape. It's selfless love. I will do what is best for you regardless of what it costs me. Those of you who were not in the first service, if you don't remember anything else I say today or anything I ever say for the next 10 years, remember that phrase. It is the basis of Christianity. It is the basis of this church. It is the basis of my life. I will do what is best for you regardless of what it costs me. Now, everybody wants that from their pastor. And you got it, okay? 2 a.m. and you need a quart of blood, you call me. I'm your guy. I'm serious. Been there. That's selfless love. And why is that? Because Jesus Christ called me to give my life away in the service of other people. And I'm happy to do so. But when it comes to you, when it comes to the world's attitude about selfless love is, I want you to do what is best for me, regardless of what it costs you. And don't be looking at anything from this side. Is that not the world's attitude about love? If I had $100 for every man who's come into my office and can't understand why his marriage is failing, and he says something along the lines of, well, I expected her to give me everything I needed and wanted. You know? I mean, I thought she'd cook like mom and clean like mom and have sex with me whenever I wanted to. I don't understand why she doesn't meet my needs. I heard that over and over and over in Kansas. And then I would ask the question. You know the question I'd ask? What are you doing to meet her needs? What's the other one? Well, dude, that's what marriage is. That's what love is. Love is meeting the other person's needs, giving to that person, unconditionally. Selfless love. I will do what is best for you regardless of what it costs me. What did Jesus do? What was his example of his life and his teaching? That's what he did. That's what we are to do for each other. It is what marks us from the people outside of this building, outside of this organization. Why is it so difficult to love people? Because we have selfish hearts. We have carnal hearts. We are designed with the survival instinct, and by golly, it better be about me or I'll be dead in a ditch. But Jesus says, I want to have a heart transplant. I want to take that selfish heart of yours. I want to take that carnal heart. That heart is all about you. I want to put my heart in there. I want to take yours out. And of course, it's not talking about the organ in your chest. It's talking about your moral center. The place that you make your decisions in the back of your subconscious mind. The place where you value your time and value your life and value your resources. That is where Jesus wants to make a transplant. And then the transplanted moral center is one that gives their life away in the service of others. Unconditional. When we take communion, I don't emphasize it quite as much in here, but when we take communion in there, one of the things I say every single time is we're making a commitment to each other. When we commune together, when we take the bread together and share the cup together, we are making a commitment to each other. You are saying to each other, I take the cup, you take the cup, you need me, I'll be there for you. That's one of the things about family. That's one of the things about the church family. You are not alone in this life. When we dedicate babies, I have all the parents line up, all the babies up here, and I'm standing here. We go through this thing, and we have a pledge from the parents and a pledge from the congregation. And at the end of the service, I say, now look out there. Look at all the people standing. You are not raising this kid alone. You're not alone. We're here for you. You need something moved? You need to move from one apartment to another? Give me a call. We'll rally the troops. You're hungry? You can't pay the bills? You need a new tire? Give me a call. We're here for each other. That's what selfless love is. Agape. I will do what is best for you regardless of what it costs me. May I have the 1 Corinthians 13 scripture up there, if you'd be so kind? This is called the love chapter. I read it in almost every wedding service I do. Nowhere in the Bible does it explain love better than this passage. This is Paul writing to the Corinthians, describing the kind of love that I'm talking about. If I speak with the tongue of men and of angels, but do not have agape, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy, means I can tell the future, I know what's going to happen. If I know all mysteries and all knowledge, I can tell you the answers to every question you've ever asked. And if I have all faith so I can remove mountains, but I don't have love, I am nothing. Selfless love is the basis of all life. If I give all my possessions to feed the poor, if I surrender my body to be burned, but I do not have love, it profits me nothing. That's a very cultural specific phrase, by the way. Love is patient. Love is kind. It is not jealous. Love does not brag, and it is not arrogant. Love does not act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own. It is not easily provoked. It does not take into account a wrong suffered. Oh yeah, you did this. Well, by golly, I'm going to do that. Oh, well, you didn't do this. Well, I'm not going to do that. By golly, that's record keeping. That's counting wrongs. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Christian couples don't run and get divorced without a fight. I don't say it's not possible. I'm not saying divorce is wrong. I'm saying Christian couples don't run without a fight. We give a hard go at it. Love never fails. If there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away. If there are tongues, they will cease. If there is knowledge, it will be done away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. Meaning, because of our carnal bodies and our knowledge, we have very limited points of view. But when the perfect comes, meaning heaven, after death, the partial will be done away with, meaning what we understand now. When I was a child, meaning this body, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, and reason like a child. But when I became a man, and I got the transplanted heart of Jesus Christ, I did away with childish things. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully, just as I have always also have been fully known. That's one of the places that we know when you pass through the curtain of death, you're going to understand everything. There's going to be no doubt. But now faith, hope, and love abide, these three. But the greatest of these is agape, selfless love. I will do what is best for you, regardless of what it costs me. Can you imagine being in a relationship where the person you live with every day, every hour of every day, the person you live with, every decision they make, everything they do is all about you? Can you imagine that kind of relationship? Where all that person wants to do is make you happy, make you comfortable, make you secure. Can you imagine a relationship like that? And if you had that relationship, who would ever walk away from it? And so Jesus teaches us, if we love each other like that, we will never, ever, ever separate. It is the best that we can hope for, to love each other selflessly. Agape, I will do what is best for you, regardless of what it costs me. But we can't do that as the people we are. And the critical thing I need you to learn to remember or understand about that is we can't do love. We can't do selfless love. Because it isn't a thing you do, it's who you are. All right? Did I choose to live with Pam so she fell in love with me? Did I choose to pay Pam's bills and buy her clothes and buy her groceries and buy her a car so she'd fall in love with me? Did I do these things to get love? Or did I do these things because I'm in love? We do because of who we are. And so Jesus says it's impossible for us to love selflessly because that's not who we are. We're selfish by nature. But when we come to the cross, when we reach the cross and we understand who hung on that cross, and we kneel at that cross and we watch the blood of a man drip out on the ground, dying when you should be the one on that cross, and you sit there and you look up and you watch that man die, when that touches your heart, when that rips the heart out of your chest, and you ask for forgiveness, you are given a new heart. But until you reach the point where you understand what he did for you, just for you, if there had only been one person alive on the planet forever, Jesus would have still come and died for you. That's when the transplanted heart comes in. And that's when you start living selfless love. I want to close with a story. Sorry, it just comes. A man was the kind of guy who didn't like to go in debt when he bought things. And so he would not buy a new car until he could afford one. And so he usually bought very modest cars. He bought one about every 7 years. He was very careful to research and so forth and so on. Well, as all the kids were out of the house and they were all going to college and off on their own lives. And he was feeling like, he wanted to kind of feel young again. And so he started researching little more upscale cars. And he fell in love with a BMW. And he bought a $30,000 bright red BMW convertible from the 3 Series. Brought it home, and he showed his wife, and went for a ride. He was so happy, so proud of his beautiful car and the way that it made him feel. And then he had the car about 15 days, and it was out in the driveway, and it was parked behind her car. And she said, "Hey, honey, I got to go to Kroger's. Would you mind if I took the Beamer to Kroger's to get a loaf of bread?" Sure, honey, go ahead. And she wasn't used to the stick, and she wasn't used to the high power. Believe me, when you put it in second and you put your foot down, you best be ready. And she ran into 2 or 3 other cars in the Kroger parking lot. She smashed her up pretty good. Police came. She was bawling like crazy. The policeman said, "May I see your insurance and license and registration?" She gets in the glove compartment, and this gentleman was the kind who has everything in order in a plastic bag in the glove compartment. And she pulls out the plastic bag, and there's a 3x5 card in there, and on it is a note. And it says, "Honey, if you've got this out, you've probably done something to my car." And he said, "I want you to know, as much as I love this car, I love you more." That's selfless love. Putting the needs of another person before your own. We are asked to do that in a loving relationship to each other as spouse and or boyfriend, girlfriend. But above all else, it is what marks us as belonging to Jesus Christ. And you can tell within 5 minutes who knows who Jesus is and who doesn't. You just watch and listen, and it becomes as obvious as can be, because the person whose heart belongs to Christ is a whole different person. Very loving, very giving, very kind. And those that aren't, they want to talk about other things. Now, I've given you a test, a survey. It's not a test. There are no wrong answers. Okay? And as you leave this morning, you're going to be given a key to that test. And at the bottom, and I wanted everybody in the house to do this, okay? Because this is an empirical, black and white way to determine where you are spiritually. Remember, my goal here is to move you along the spiritual road. We're on a journey. My job is to move you down the road. And this is one way we're going to find out where you are. You take the key home. You grade your own survey. You figure it out. Nobody's going to know. Just you. But you'll end up with one of 4 choices. You are an amazing disciple of Jesus Christ and exceptionally selfless. You are like the majority of disciples of Jesus. You're pretty selfless, but you got a ways to go yet. You're probably not a believer in Jesus and you need spiritual maturity. You are almost assuredly not a believer in Jesus Christ. Why do I give that to you? We won't change until we know where we are. We won't change until the pain of staying the way we are is greater than the pain of change. I want you to know where you are. I don't want anyone to sit on my teaching and not know whether they believe in Jesus Christ or not. I don't want any gamesmanship, any nonsense. Take the test, take the legend, go home, figure it out. If you got a question or a problem, I'll be near the phone all day. All right? Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it very much. What's the one phrase I want you to remember from today's lesson? Does anybody give it to me back? I will do what is best for you regardless of what it costs me. If you're having a rough marriage right now, you get up every morning, and the first thing you do is you say, Paul, I will do what is best for you, regardless of what it costs me. You do that for 3 weeks, every day for 3 weeks. I guarantee you, in a month, your marriage will be the best thing you have ever seen. I've done it. I've had people do it in marriage counseling. It works, all right? I'm wound up. I don't want to quit. I will do what is best for you, regardless of what it costs me. In a month, I'm going to ask you that question. Let's bow our heads. Holy Father, thank you for the example of selfless love given to us by your Son. And help us to understand we cannot do selfless love. It is not in us to be a selfless person. We are by our very nature selfish. But when we give our will back to you, when we give our lives to you, when we invite your Son to take our moral centers over, we get a new heart, a new outlook, a new ability. And we become selfless in our attitudes and in our actions. Help us to remember it's not what I do, it's who I am in Jesus. These things I ask in his blessed name. Amen. If I could have the praise team come and do us one more song, that would be awesome.
You've probably heard this song before, but not quite sung this way.
I did not remind you, right behind that wooden door is some of the best home cooking you're ever going to have. And if you want to, you're welcome to stay and enjoy that. If you don't want to, then I will be deeply offended, but you go home. That's okay. I won't hold that against you. All kidding aside, please join us. Let's bow our heads. Don't forget to get a key to the survey, because that's the whole point. Holy Father, once again, we thank you for inviting us to your house. We're excited about the life that you have provided for us, and now we want to go deeper. We want to go further along on our journey. We want to find the path that you created for us that will lead us to a deeply fulfilled life, a useful life that fits your plan and helps us to be joyful and confident along the way. And to do that, help us to look at the results of our survey and understand exactly where we are and what we need to go to the next level. Bless the food that we are about to partake, and we do so in fellowship with you. Above all else, may our lives and our church family be marked with a love. I will do what is best for you, regardless of what it costs me. These things I ask in the blessed name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Go in peace and honor the Lord.
Doing better?
Yeah, I was gonna walk after my car without a jacket. So I opened that door. Oh, you're fine.
Nice to see you again, Mary. Are you seeing better?
Watched it snow.
They all say
They all say the same thing. That's right, because that's the theme of that. Prepare the way for others to